Hello and welcome to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. Great show for you today. We're going to plant some flags. Yeah, on some players that we have talked about over the past month or so on this show. Players that are going to be prospects, I should say, in the 2025 NFL draft that's happening next week. We're going to plant some of these flags. We're going to say, we like this guy. This guy's going to be good. This guy's going to do something that maybe we haven't emphasized or have emphasized before. I want to add maybe one more exclamation point to it to help me plant those flags like we're on Iwo Jima is my guy, Charles McDonald, Mr. Verts. How you doing today, Chuck?
Doing good. I got some sleep over the past few days, which we weren't quite doing last week with all the big boards and all Juice team stuff. So I'm ready to go. We got our both got our top 75. We got a consensus board thanks to our friend Arif Hassan, who does stuff at Wide Left, his own little blog. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got the draft show next week. We're a week out from the draft. I'm excited and I'm ready. You know, I'm ready. I am too. I'm now in the cycle of like, you know, stand-up comedians say they face this like when they're on a tour and they're on month 8 and they're like saying the same jokes over and over. And they're like, that's kind of how I feel. It's like, all right, time for a new set. Need a new crop of prospects that would crack these lines and jokes about. But no, it's going to be fun. And actually, you know, we're going to see each other in LA, not wearing green shirts like we are today. We're not doing that because, you know, the Masters was last week or anything. This was just happenstance. But we'll be in LA for the draft and you can watch that draft coverage through the Yahoo app. It's a great time to download the Yahoo Sports app before that NFL draft. We've added live activities on iOS so you can watch each pick as they come directly through your lock screen too. You know, got one of those little tracking gizmos going on. Yes, you can check out the full draft coverage on the app, grades, live analysis. Check out the live show that we're doing. Me, Charles, Matt Harmon, Jason Fitz, the whole Yahoo team. Round 1 on Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday. That's only a week from now. So make sure to check in. I don't know if you guys have heard, but the draft's happening next week. But we'll have those live streams on the Yahoo Sports app as well as YouTube on X. Make sure to check us out. Make sure to download the app and get it straight into your veins. Yes, though, we are going to plant those flags. So let's get into it, Charles. Let's start with the first player that you want to plant your flag. We didn't really give ourselves a lot of parameters, I should say, saying that we kind of just take it how you want to go. I asked our fans as well, and you asked our fans as well, our listeners on Twitter and on Blue Sky, hey, plant some flags, throw some stuff out there. So we'll be getting to those at the end of the show. You guys had some good ones. Can't wait to talk about those. But Charles, bad leadoff. Get on base. Let's see what you got. Just for people who are listening to this, we have not spoken to each other about our 6 players at all. I have no idea who Nate picked. He is who I picked. I picked all players from my top 75 board just to keep it easy. You know,
I think all of mine are in my top 75 except for one. It's same thing here.
Interested for that one. But I'm going to start off. I'm going to start with Ohio State receiver Emeka Egbuka. I just feel like I don't want to make this sound like a diss with him, but it just seems like a really clean, easy fit for him in the NFL. You know, really high floor, high character, slot wide receiver who's going to come in, make tough catches, do all the dirty work, and he's got some nice speed on the back end to create some big plays. I honestly, I really fell down, like, for some reason, I fell down the rabbit hole, like watching interviews from some of these guys while they were in school. And Egbuka, I don't know. He just seems like someone who's going to work too hard. And's got his head on the, it's got his head on his shoulders and is going to get across the finish line where he needs to. But I really just think it's a high level. I don't like using this word, safe skill set that you know what I mean. Like this. Like, if he was just a flat-out bad NFL player, I'll be pretty stunned. I feel like this is a guy who's at least is going to be useful and going to be a starting slot wide receiver that's going to make your offense better from day one.
Yep, I'm totally with you. He ended up my receiver too. I gave him the nod over Golden just because I just think he fits no matter where he goes. So I'm glad you gave this guy a shout out. I almost did, so I'm glad you did because I went with a different receiver. But I really like Egbuka. I think all of us are kind of on the same wavelength with him. Have him somewhere in the 20s on our big board. Can play power slot. Can do outside stuff. Really smart football player too. And tested well. Like, that's the thing. He's not some big slug and you're like, oh yeah, he's gritty and stuff. Like, no, he can move and catch and do a lot of things well. Yeah. So I like what you said. I don't see him. Safe is a scary word, especially for receiver prospects, but he does feel like one of those that no matter what, he's going to contribute as a professional and probably more, depending on his landing spot. I think I talked about this on the receiver pod with Matt. I tweeted a clip of him blocking. And he like pancaked this DB. And I'm like, God, look at this guy. And his high school coach replied to me. And he was like, that guy's one of my favorite players ever. It's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. He's the best. I love him so much. Check out this play of one time. He never played corner for us. And then we had to play him at corner. We never went over this at all. And look at him get a pick six and saving us the game. It was just so cool to see a high school coach just seek that out. I didn't know he followed me, but seek that out and go like, hey, check out this clip from Huddle from 5 years ago. And it fired me up because you know how coaches are. And so it's cool to see that a receiver has that kind of impact on a high school coach that he's like, no, he's one of my favorite players. So it tracks exactly how he is as a pro. Good flag planting, a safe flag plant, if you will.
Safe flag
I almost went with my first one with Tetero McMillan and just say like, I want to say he's definitively receiver one, but I went a little spicier. I'm going to go with Tory Horton, who is receiver from Colorado State. He made my top 75. I think he was 68. I just really like him. I just think this player, if he were healthy last year, fully healthy, he had an ACL, ran the 40 though, and ran a 4.41 at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. So the fact that he was already back on the field and was comfortable enough to test, that was more encouraging for that injury. But his ball skills, I think his route running is good. Play strength would be his one area that he's a little just average, but it's not something that is truly negative with him. And really just super productive until this injured year, this past year, and an offense that's, it's a traditional air raid offense, but has, good ball skills. His sideline catches are really, knows how to use his length. Really good too for a guy that's so long-legged. He's not stiff. He's not rigid. I said this to Matt that he moves like this. I think this player was a much better player coming out of college. Obviously, he won Heisman, but Devontae Smith. Devontae, has those long legs, but he's not stiff. Like, he's very fluid and agile. And I love Devontae Smith, one of my favorite players in the league. Horton moves like that. Obviously, Devontae's a little better, but I really like this guy. I think, and I think there's fans around the league that like him as well. Kind of one of those guys that a lot, when I do ask people like, hey, am I crazy on this? They kind of go like, hey, shh, a little bit about him. Like I can kind of get that sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay. But, like a late second, third rounder type that I think could just be a really good secondary receiver for somebody because he just does a lot well with his ball skills, fluid mover, good route runner, just checks a lot of boxes for me and has some juice to him as well. So yeah, Tory Horton, just want to throw that out there because I just envision him as just a good Z for somebody in the league.
Yeah, it's funny because I think I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but Tory Horton was actually one of the players I had circled because of the college football video game that came out last summer. Because one of
That was it was good initial scouting. What was the offensive lineman you said? Because you tried to play some garbage team and they had a really good line.
Oh, it was Jacksonville State who had the Georgia transfer.
Sorry, any Jacksonville State alum. I just called you garbage, but sorry, Gamecocks.
Look. When we got to the Peach Bowl against Notre Dame, it was not a pretty sight, man. They bludgeoned us. But Tory Horton, he was someone in like on our online dynasty that just went crazy. And I was like, he had like some nice ratings. So I was like, maybe I should keep an eye out for this guy. I didn't really get to him until a couple weeks ago, but I think there's a lot to like about his game, man. I've been trying to figure out a comparison for him because I feel like you just don't really see guys who are built like that, who can also be like that elusive in the open field when it comes to it. I don't know. I don't know if he's like a Stevie Johnson type, like if that makes sense.
Same build though. That's
Same
exactly the
build.
build. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Another one, I punched his name into the relative athletic scores site, Raz.football, and one of the top comps that came up was DJ Chark, and another one was for strictly athleticism. And the other one was that jogged my memory a little bit was Laurent Robinson, the old Rams and Cowboys wide receiver. Yeah, he had 800 yards in 2011, 11 touchdowns, and never really did anything else. But I do think that there's kind of a nice floor for Horton, as long as you have like a quality group around him, because I don't know if he's going to be like your X receiver, even though he's got like the height for it. So you might look at it as an X, but I think he's a Z. You just got to keep him in space and really just let him use all his athleticism to make all those plays that you see on his tape.
Yeah, he's a guy that I haven't figured out whether I like him at X, slot, or Z. But I've seen him, they kind of one-sided, but he's done a little bit of those things that I think translate. I know this is lazy. It's like, I feel like a team like the Packers love him. Like, he just seems like a Packers receiver. You know what I mean? He's not, not, his bulk's okay, but they only go 190. They're size queens. They only like 195 or above at receiver. But with Horton, like, he's near that benchmark for them. And I don't know, it just kind of does everything well. And they just kind of like that archetype. So yeah, that he just feels like a Packers receiver. All right. Horton, I'm glad you got to check him out too. I know we haven't talked much about him, but I just want to reemphasize how much I liked his game. Let's go on to your next one, Charles. Who's the next player you want to plant your flag on?
This is a first rounder at this point, but I'm going with Gray Zabel, offensive lineman from North Dakota State. I just think there's so much to like here. You've got, I feel like he's one of those guys where we could conceivably get him to play 4 spots, maybe all 5 spots in the offensive line, depending on where the development curve goes for him or what the needs are. And I think that it's kind of a tough, rare skill set to find, because I think, some of these guards where you look at like a Tyler Booker, for example, you're like, okay, you are a guard in like a gap scheme, we're going to keep you moving forward. But I think someone like Zabel, it gives you a little bit more flexibility with maybe where you want to go. Because I think he can play just about everything you ask. Maybe he's going to have to get a little bit stronger coming from North Dakota State. But I do think like the position versatility, the technique, the athleticism, it just gives you a really high floor, even though you're coming from an FCS school. And obviously, like, North Dakota State, not your typical FCS school. You've seen them put players into the NFL. Yeah. Right. So
they're like in between the Big Ten and MAC somehow. Like, they're like their own tier in between those. Yeah.
Yes. Because I think it was North Dakota State. They almost beat Colorado this year. And they're not the same North Dakota State. Right. Right. South Dakota State's kind of taken over. I think it's fascinating that guys that talented go to South Dakota. But here we are. Gray Zabel is going to be a first-round pick from North Dakota State. And like I said, the athleticism, technique, position versatility, all those things are getting a first-round pick. And I think it's kind of an easy flag plant for him.
No, I think he got a lot of fans. I think the Senior Bowl is when everybody was like, okay, we're good with him. Like, because that's the classic. If you're a small school guy, you kind of have to wait to see it. And I get it. Like, even though his Colorado tape in week 1 was great, he was playing tackle there. But I do think he's a guard. And really, I think center might be his best spot. When I talked to my dad about him, he said he would start him at guard and work him to center, because he just doesn't, the theory of that is easier said than done. Just going like, drop him at center. And I actually was kind of had to check myself, because I was like, that's where I picture him. But he even spoke to, because I was like, okay, guard center. He goes, no, he can hang at tackle. And so that's the fact that, because I didn't think Zabel would be kind of his type. I thought he would maybe like a little bit more, just big, length. And Zabel's more just agile and fluid and a good mover and everything. But he was like, no, he's such a good mover. He's got enough length where he can mitigate it if he does face those longer guys on the outside. So there's just a lot of like, he truly does maybe have 4 position upside, for sure the 3 interior spots, and then maybe right tackle or something like that. But the fact that it's not no, he can't play it. It's more like, well, in a pinch he can. That's huge. Versatility of along the offensive line is so big. So good shout here. I think he's just a good player. Just easy to project, even though he's coming from North Dakota State.
He had one of the craziest stats from the combine this year that I don't know if it got glossed over, but at 6'6", 312, he jumped 36.5 inches in the vertical jump.
Dude, right.
Which is
Is he throwing down windmills?
Right. That's insane.
360 dunks? Yeah. No, that's a great call. I'm trying to think
his agility times are pretty good too. I think like the arm length isn't there. Probably if you're looking at tackle, like 32-inch arms, not great. But man, like there's so much athleticism here. I have to imagine there's a bunch of offensive line coaches looking at him, just like, oof, let me get my hands on him. We can.
That's
we can make
and
that
of course, and then how he played. He played at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, that vertical jump was 99th percentile among offensive linemen all time at the combine. So good shout there. And then the broad jump, he jumped 9, I'm trying to do math, 9.3. That was 87th percentile because the place I lists just in pure inches. They don't go foot and inches. So, all right, 120 is 10 feet, -9. So no, but a good athlete, fluid mover, body strength was like the one thing he'd probably have to work on, but he was able to mitigate some of that stuff too. So yeah, good player, good shout, good start for you, Charles. I'm jealous of your picks already. Those are good flag plants. I kind of went with a lot of my guys. That was kind of my theme of this. There's a lot of kind of stay two guys in here, but then I kind of cranked it up at the end. I'm going with one that I feel like I'm the lone guy here that has him in this tier. That's Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. I just think he's good, and I just can't really envision him not being a good player. Maybe not saying Pro Bowl. Oh yeah, he's going to just be the alpha in a running back room. But this is a guy, these are the types of running backs that stick. It's just because there are no wasted touches with Devin Neal because his vision's so good, his burst so good, and he has good size. So even if he's not the home run threat, he does not have a fifth gear, but his 1 through 4 gears are pretty good. And that's where I have the comparison to David Montgomery with him. It's that you're not wasting any touches with him. He can run between the tackles. He can make one guy miss with some shiftiness. He's got good contact balance. He's got good hands. He's good in pass protection. These are the guys that just stick. He's a professional running back when I'm watching him in college already. So he's not very sexy, and I think maybe that's why he doesn't have so much hype. And I think this running back class is just so deep that it's easier to fall in love with other players that are, more explosive, have maybe sexier tape, but a highly productive running back. He was a big recruit coming out of high school, so he's not really coming out of nowhere. Relatively big recruit going to Kansas, I should say. But also just productive since day one. Kansas found every way, shape, or form to get the ball in his hands. I just think this is simply a good player. I know I'm one of the only people that has him in my top. I had him in my top 75, top 50, actually, just barely snuck in. I think I had him at 49. But man, I could see him going in round 3 somewhere and just making a team very happy because you're giving this guy 10, 15 touches, maybe split those touches with a speedier guy, like a scat back type, and you're golden. I think that's the ideal running back room in the NFL right now. And he can run because he can run between tackles efficiently. So yeah, Devin Neal, just got to plant my flag on him because he didn't run fast. I get that, but it's not like he's a slug. It's like, okay, yeah, he just doesn't have game-breaking speed. It's still fine, good speed, solid speed for the back. It's above the threshold. So, yeah, Devin Neal, somewhere between a mix of Devin Singletary and David Montgomery. That's my comparison for him, but I just like the player a lot.
Yeah, I almost put him on top 75. I don't really know why. Honestly, at the end, I got kind of jumbled, and I was like, all these guys, they're kind of growing.
There's so many running backs, dude.
So many running backs, too. So many running backs this year. So, he was, I guess, in my next 5-ish guys. But, to me, once you get down to, the 60s and 70s, it's all kind of interchangeable a little bit.
That's what's hard is 60 to 100 or 60 to 90 is kind of the same tier. So it's
yes,
I was cutting off a lot of guys at 75. It's hey, I got about 12 guys I could include it on my top 75, but I'm not volunteering for a top 100.
Oh no.
I'll just write out that list. I'll write out that list next week and then tweet it just so people can see the names. And I have a point of record somewhere to look at. But no, Devin Neal, I just in this group of running backs, and there's a lot of flavors and a lot of good players. He's just the one that I like, and just this archetype I've always been a sucker for. So yeah. I had to give him I had to play my flag on him.
I understand sometimes why people fall in love with sexy running back tape, like RJ Harvey stuff where you're watching like just all these big plays. And, but in the NFL, like you watch enough football, you don't have to have great speed to be a good running back in the NFL. The Kareem Hunt last year was one of the highest in success rate, averaging like 3.7 yards per carry. Like obviously you want to do a little bit better than that because we saw got a little tough towards the end of the season. But I think with Devin Neal, like that to me is like a potential like one of those classic day 2 picks to start to running back for like 7-8 years and has a really really strong career. And you said, you don't need to be a Pro Bowler. We just need a starting back who can efficiently run in between the tackles. We'll figure out the rest.
That's it. And catch the ball and pass protect. That's you have a use. My last line on him. He's like a baseball player, gets on base a lot, but doesn't hit a lot of home runs. It's like it's like his 30 doubles, gets a bunch of walks, gets a bunch of singles, but maybe only 15 to 18 home runs. He's kind of that type to me. So Devin Neal. All right, Charles, let's get to your next guy that you want to plant your flag on.
I'm going with Miami running back Damien Martinez.
Good. Dude. That was the other one I wanted to throw in here. So good.
I almost feel like he's kind of like I don't know if I would call him a victim of what happened to Miami last year, but I don't think he touched the ball as much as he should have because they were just trying to score so much because their defense was so bad. So like you look here, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, he had 159 carries last year. I wouldn't be surprised to see that surpassed first year in the NFL.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Because I think when you contextualize where Miami was, the defense was so bad that you almost just want to put the game in Cam Ward's hands, which is got him 10 wins, almost got him to the CFP if they could have just beat Syracuse at the end of the year. But Damien Martinez is not like some stowaway like sidekick character in that offense. Like he was doing work for them. And honestly, because I had like seen little clips of him when he was at Oregon State before he transferred to Miami. But this year was like the first year I watched him. I didn't realize how big he was, and he's got a little bit of pull away speed. Not the fastest guy, but at 220 to run in like high 4.4s, low 4.5s, that's more than good enough. I think he's got good vision. Obviously, tough to bring down in the open field for defensive backs, and I think he's got a little bit more elusiveness than you might think for 232 pounds. I really like this guy. And I honestly think like maybe there's some benefit to him not having a massive workload last year. Maybe this is where he can, have some fresh legs, get into the NFL, be a player that can start for a running back room pretty quickly. I think this is going to be one of those picks that the nerds look back at in a few years, be like, see, why'd you pick Genty in the first round when you could have had Damien Martinez at the end of round 3, something like that. But I do think he's a starting caliber running back in the NFL. And I think there's just so much I like about his game, from the physicality to the vision, some of the breakaway speed.
Yeah, he's a bruiser, but the thing is, he's not a magnet for contact. Like the guy that I always think of in the negative sense for that is Javonte Williams with the Broncos from North Carolina, where it was like, oh yeah, like all these tackles he's breaking and stuff. It's like, he could avoid those too, like if he just had a little bit of vision and a little bit of patience with his running. And Martinez has that. Like, there's games where he just took over, because it wasn't just because he had to run over another guy, No, he'll make a guy miss in the hole. I also thought, and make a guy miss at the second level and then lower his shoulder on a safety. But you would see the safeties after he blow them up. And then the next time they come down the pipe, to fit up the run, they go, they're a little scared, and then he'll juke them, and then he'll break them off. Yeah. It's a great little blend of power and speed and power and grace. And I love his vision. Miami's coach, or O-line was coached well last year, I thought, and they ran the crap out of duo. So I'm all about it. Power running right at him, and Martinez is masterful on duo runs. Zone runs, you can kind of see this a little bit. You see vision, but I also think in college level, when you can get away with just being fast and running zone, and you don't have to have maybe that A+ vision like you might have to in the NFL. But in duo, you can really see how guys set up the hole, use tempo, and then burst through, set up the linebacker to get eaten up by a block and then burst through, bounce when the linebackers cut up and through the middle or fit up in the middle, and then you bounce the run and show off that speed. And this is, I mean, Bijan Robinson was one of my favorites ever to watch in this, and Martinez is dang good on these runs. And that's the in vogue run right now. So I think that makes me excited about him. Like, he can do the run that everyone wants to do right now and do it well and also create, like, he's got some juice, like more juice than you would think. Like he's not a slug at all. I'm with you all the way. Man, he gets every yard that's blocked for him, and then he picks up more yards too. It's either through agility or through power. So good shout here. Martinez is a hell of a player.
I just punched his name to the relative athletic scores. The first comp that comes up is Marshawn Lynch. Dude, these guys had damn near identical combines in every single drill. Not going to put that expectation on him, but I do think you kind of see it when you watch him play. You know, the movement, the speed, the power. I think he's going to be a great back at the next level.
Wow, that's actually, there's more. And again, you don't want to. It's a stylistic and size comparison. This is why I keep saying with comparison style. It's stylish. It's style and size. It's not career arc. But God, Marshawn's actually a pretty good comparison for him.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, because, Marshawn never had that top end speed, no matter what everyone thinks the Beast Quake happened. You watch the Beast Quake. It's him running over guys and throwing guys off of them. Yeah. But watch Martinez against Syracuse. He's doing the exact same thing. So, yeah, good shot there, Damien Martinez. Pass pro wise, he's a little inconsistent. That'd be like the one thing. But I also thought that was some of it was the offense was being there. Again, it was an air raid-ish offense. Sometimes the backs don't get taught rules there. It's more like, hey, just whatever falls into you, block them. So, it's one of those where he will have to improve that, but he has the size and want to. That's like, I'm not as concerned. If he was a $192 and iffy in pass protection, then we're talking. But yeah, no, that'd be the one thing with him. But man, good player, good shout here. Yeah, I'm glad we covered the two backs because he made your top 75 too as well. Martinez was 57 on mine. So yeah, I think we're in agreement at the tier that we look at him at. All right, we're going to take our first break and we're going to come back with a few more prospects that we're planting our flags on.
The Yahoo Sports app is your ultimate draft day companion. With live activities, you can keep up with every pick without even unlocking your phone. Beef up on the incoming rookie class with expert analysis, grades, and prospect breakdowns. Download the Yahoo Sports app right now and get ready for draft night like a pro.
All right, we are back with flag planting on prospects. Not panning for prospects. We're planting the flags now. We're putting it up. We found the gold. Now we're putting it up. Something like that. I'm going with, this is the guy who did not make my top 75. So this is the one guy. And honestly, I want to use this as a way to talk about a few players at this position, but that is Mitchell Evans, tight end, Notre Dame, who, if I had a top 100, which I might next week, he'll make that. And Evans is in this group. It's a good tight end class. I'll talk about a couple others in a sec. Evans in 2023 had got an ACL injury near the end of the year. Probably their best receiver, most consistent receiver on that team. Comes back this year, plays early, works back, but then you really got to see him kind of, stop dragging the leg so much and really start to move in the second half of the year. I would say the USC game was really where you can start to see it coming, and then it just got better and better, especially in the college football playoff. This guy with really good size, really good hands. He catches literally everything. Literally everything. I did not look up how many drops he had in his career, but I would venture it was only one or two. Great ball skills, a fluid mover for such a big guy. Does not have the long game-breaking seam stretching speed. But if you're looking at a tight end that can legitimately block in line, like gives grit, has length, has size, has really good hands, truly like a classic 90s Y tight end. You know what I mean? Safe underneath option for the quarterback, can do a couple routes, and then also does a valid blocker in line. That's Mitchell Evans. I just a skill set I really like. And when watching more of the second half of the year, again, watched so much Riley Leonard film this year that I got to see plenty of Mitchell Evans. He was their best receiver, but it really wasn't until he got healthy in the second half of the year. Just classic, old, reliable Y tight end. And yeah, just really like the skill set, really like this player. I could see him going in round 3 just because of what that skill set is. But that's where I see him maybe as a late day 2, early day 3 type, but good player. And just a guy that I think is going to have a good productive career that maybe I'm picking all these injured guys that the injury kind of belittled what he actually was playing. And I remember when I first started tweeting about him last year, because he made some unbelievable, like his ball skills are just really good. Mike Golick Jr. was like, yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere, our guy Gojo, because he said most tight ends we kind of know, at Notre Dame, like, oh, this is the next guy up, this is the next guy up. And he kind of just came out of nowhere. And so he's been kind of like a pleasant surprise. So I think maybe that's why he's a little bit under the radar, but I want to give Evans a shout here. I was going to go Mason Taylor as another tight end. And then I was maybe even going to go Colson Loveland, but that felt kind of like cheating. So those other two tight ends.
I'm going with another first rounder soon.
Great. Perfect. Yeah. But those, I like all these top tight ends. Like I'm willing to plant my flag on just about all of them in some way, shape or form. But Evans is a guy I haven't talked about him at all this cycle. So I just want to really just pop his name in here before we wrap up. And so I can just have one clip to say, hey, maybe I told you so in a year or two from now. But yeah, Mason Taylor is another guy. I think Mason Taylor might go in the first round. No one should be surprised by that. I think he's just a balanced tight end, does a lot of good things. And then I just really like Colson Loveland as well. So just want to give the tight ends a shout because it's such a fun position group.
Yeah, I have only really watched Mitchell Evans in passing, but he seems solid because when I was watching the Notre Dame offense, and man, they had some tough moments where they were really slugging through it. I think that's even like I think that's even like if you just look at his stats real quick, like 9.8 yards per catch this year compared to 14.6 last year, like that just kind of shows how congested they were up on offense. Yeah. But I thought like for when I did go back and watch Riley Leonard. Shoot, I almost said Riley Cooper. Jesus Christ!
Oh man, where's your head at?
I don't know. When I went back to watch Riley Leonard, I did think that Mitchell gave him some nice like easy buttons later in the season, and like you said, on an offense that had the wide receivers were a mess, man. Like it was not
one of the worst groups for a good team I've seen in so long. They're so seriously unbelievably bad. So he had 4 career drops. Dang it. thought we had a good one there. But I mean, when he was healthy in 2023, 2.29 yards per route run, 13% first downs per route, 6.5 explosives per route. That's actually really good for a tight end. To have that many explosive catches, that's 16 yards or more. So, but as a short intermediate, big target, this is your guy. Maybe have some red zone viability as well and can block in line. Yeah, checks a lot of boxes. So, the Notre Dame offense, wait till you watch that running back, though. That guy's going to make my 2026 top 25. I tell you that.
Yeah.
Love. Oh boy. Yeah, that's the dude. No wonder they ran the ball 500 times. All right, let's get to your next flag planning here, Chuck.
Not surprised if you've been listening to this podcast for a while. I'm going with Kenneth Grant, Michigan defensive tackle. I was watching him. I was watching their games of passing again for the big boy stuff last week, and I was like, "Oh, I love this dude. He's awesome."
Since day one. I mean, since last summer.
Since day one. Yeah.
This has been your guy.
Yeah, it's just impressive to watch someone who is that big. And that tall, like be able to play with leverage and, I think clearly show signs of good athleticism. You're talking about, like, it doesn't sound all that impressive, but you're talking about like a nose tackle that got 3 sacks last year, which is pretty good production coming from that spot. A handful of TFLs. I really think you see the burst, power, explosion all in this game, especially like when he's anchoring like against a double team. A lot of times he doesn't even get moved. And I just think that even where he is now, there's still a lot of untapped upside because he does have like some pass rush juice for a nose tackle. Obviously, you're not going to see, 8-9 sacks from this guy, but as like a pocket pusher, it's going to give you great run defense. To me, that's kind of like a no-brainer first rounder. And I also think that like he kind of showed out in a year where he had to. where you look at Mason Graham played all the games, but he was banged up. We've talked about Will Johnson before. He was in and out of the lineup. So it obviously wasn't the same group that they played with where they won the national title. But I thought he did a really good job showcasing his talents. And I think he's like a day one starter if you're trying to improve your run defense.
Absolutely. And I think what you hinted at there too, or kind of touched on too, is what makes him exciting is that, okay, drafting an interior defensive lineman, you're like, okay, can you play the run? It's like, oh yeah, you can. And okay, can you create explosive against the run? And he can. And then what you said, oh, you can eat up blocks. Okay, you can check that. Well, that's a great start. But what's so cool about Grant is that there's more. Like there is that the glimpses of, you ideally you want your interior defensive lineman to eat up blocks. That is their first assignment to eat blocks, don't get pushed off the ball, make it messy at the defensive line or at the line of scrimmage. Okay, can you create explosives? He flashes that, and there's more, and he plays hard, and there's just like all these glimpses, and he tested well, and he has the size. He, to me, is like, yeah, it's more stretches than true consistent dominance, but the stretches are there. Watch the USC game. I mean, he was unblockable at times in that game. The Ohio State game, another one where he's really showing out and taking over the game. I mean, he could end up being the best defensive tackle in this class. I wouldn't be shocked just because he has that potential. So I know you're a fan. I'm a fan too of Grant. It's just that he has that, not the same tier of player, but that potential to be kind of like a Dexter Lawrence-ish where, yeah, you're a nose, but you can generate pressures and explosive plays for the defense as opposed to just being a Mount Washington type and just eating up a bunch of blocks. He can do a little bit of both, which I think that's exactly what you want in a modern day nose. So, good shout there.
Yeah. He also, another guy who did pretty well at the drills this year. 331 pounds, had a 1.72 10-yard split, which is 80 plus percentile. Also jumped 31 in the vert, which is again for 331 pounds is 330 is pretty insane. So like I always like that when you watch a guy, you're like, oh man, short area quickness, really explosive. Then you see 10-yard split, good, jumps, good. It's like, all right, we're checking boxes here. Yeah.
Yep. He plays like he tests. That's good. I forget that he was 330, man. That's legit size. All right. I'm going to go with an offensive lineman here. I'm going to go a 2-for-1 here just to keep things tight. I'm going to first start with Marcus Mbow. I should learn the name because I like him so much. Guard, offensive tackle from Purdue, who played tackle, might be able to hang a tackle, doesn't have the greatest length, 32 to 33, depending on where you get your measurements from, depending on the combine or the pro day. Man, this guy's just explosive. His hand usage is so good and advanced. I don't see why he doesn't have as much hype as he does. He ended up making my top 35. Like if someone took him in the like 30, 31, 32 or 28, 29, somewhere in that range, I would not bat an eye. I just think his movement ability is hard to teach. His technique is already pretty polished and advanced, and just his awareness is so good that I can see him having some fans. I picture him more as a guard, but I think my dad even said that you can maybe keep him out at tackle and give him a shot because he's such a good mover. Again, you have to look at the length. I think he still has to improve his lower body strength. I think that is the one area where he can improve, which again, you're bumping into guard. Okay, well, now we got to work on some things. But man, this is just a player profile that I actually think is kind of exciting when I watch him because he does some really cool things. He's such a good mover and such a good athlete, as well as being violent with the hands. It's not just he's a good mover and then you just can't do anything. That's why it gets me excited about him, that there's something to this guy. So that's why I want to give him a shout. And then the other guy who I see as a true guard, even though he had some good tackle tape this year, is Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. And because I end up having Jackson above Tyler Booker. I had him basically comparable with Kelvin Banks. But I just really like Jackson. I think this guy is a bona fide Pro Bowl potential guard. Like I just, the length, the athleticism, the strength, Now the awareness that he has, that he's played multiple positions, is cool. Like, so you got that kind of versatility in a pinch, even though I think he's a full-time guard. Good athlete, like, and plays strong and powerful as well. Good hands, all that stuff. So Jackson's a guy I'm just super bullish on. So I just want to plant my flag as like, this guy I think could be a Pro Bowl guard if he gets to the right spot, and could fit in a lot of different schemes because he's big and athletic, as opposed to just being one or the other. So Mbow, Jackson, a couple Big Ten offensive linemen that I wanted to give a shout that kind of having the same, I have Jackson a little higher, but kind of the same tier. And I just think both of these guys have real potential at guard.
Yeah, I really like Mbow. Mbow? Yeah.
I know. Because I've heard both.
Yeah. Marcus, the Purdue offensive lineman.
There you go.
I like his game a lot. And I think I had him a little lower, like maybe in the 40s. I think I get a little concerned, like pushing him in the guard. Like if you start him right away, like is the floor a little low there? Because I do think, like you said, that was really my big knock, that he just needs to get stronger, which is fine. I mean, you watch the way he moves, you watch the way he blocks downfield, and it's not just like because I do think sometimes we watch these offensive line highlights for guys who are just blowing up linebackers in the second level, and sometimes like, they're not always blocking the right guy, but you see them, finish someone and it looks great, but maybe the guy they're supposed to block made the TFL. But when he, great. But
they
we
came
got
off
the
the
finish.
double team a little too early, but
too early, left your center out to dry, stuff like that.
Hey, you wiped out that 215-pound linebacker though.
Damn right. He'll never want to fill the box again as his teammate makes TFLs. But with Mbow, he's so smart when he gets to the second level. Like one of the things I thought was so impressive about him was when they would run like their little tackle pulls and he would get up there. He knows the right guy to block. The right guy that's going to try to spring a run free on the second level, not just killing someone to kill someone. We're going to make like the smart block because the sneaky truth that sometimes we lose on social media is all you got to do is just get in front of the guy and not get blown up for like a second. Yep. You don't have to just throw right. It's always good to see someone who's going to push down the field and knock guys over, but I want to see your feet. I want to see you get in front of someone because hopefully that running back is past you by the time that you have positioned yourself. And I think he does all those things really well. Yeah.
And it's Mbow, like bow and arrow. I just looked it up. Thank you, Dane Brugler. Our guy Dane. Always the name pronunciation is such a save in the beast. No, but like you said, the eyes and the awareness are good, and the fact that he can easily move to him, like a line, like if he is on the backside of something, he can run a guy down, and he's smart enough to know the angles. So it's a great little combo of speed and awareness that you want. All right, so we'll go on to your next spot. Next guy that you want to plant a flag on.
Another Four Classic from this year. Andrew Mukuba, safety Texas. I don't really know what else to say here. I just got to plant my flag.
This is truly your guy.
This is truly my guy. And I will not be held responsible for anything that happens once he hits an NFL field. But dude, it's just an infectious style of play, man. Like it's fun. And I gotta say, when I saw like 2 weeks ago when I saw Alfred Collins in the first round, the Texas defensive tackle, I went back to watch more, and I was like, yep. It's still my guy. I just love the way he plays. I really like I thought I undersold the ball skills. Like, I don't know if he always has great instincts and coverage, but I do think he has nice ball skills when he gets there. And obviously the willingness and ability to just hammer people in the alley and not really have any fear putting your body on the line in tough spots. Like the one play that I always come back to is the one that gave us the moment where Carson Beck is coming out into the SEC title game with literally one arm and handing the ball off with his offhand. Was the play before that. Mukuba hit Gunnar Stockton so damn hard that like I was like, I usually like, when you watch football a lot, you don't really like, oh man, like is that guy okay? But like when he got hit like that and his helmet went flying into the air, I was like, yo, are you good? And he just does that. He did that a couple times in the Georgia game. You see him do it more in this tape. I just think he's a rocket launcher in a small frame, but I really do like a lot what he has to offer. I don't know how long this is going to last playing like that, but I will be seated for all of it.
I'm with you. I get why you keep saying like infectious and stuff, and that's exactly how he plays. And nowadays with so many teams, if his style, if we were in the Legion of Boom era in like the 2010s, where every safety either had to be the deep guy or the box guy, okay. But if you're playing quarters and you just let them fly down and just knock guys out, yeah, I like that. I like him in those roles, like where he just gets to play top down and play physical and stuff like that. The guy that I loved last year with the 49ers, Malik Mustafa, like that is, that same kind of archetype, those headhunter safeties. I shouldn't say headhunters, because when I think of headhunters, I think of that old Falcons safety they had that got ran out because he couldn't cover anybody. The big guy.
William Moore?
Willie Moore. Willie Mbow.
Mbow.
That's who I think of. When I say headhunters, that's who I think of. But different than that. He can run the alley. Yeah. No, about Neal. Neal actually could do some stuff too. Actually,
Neal could cover.
Yeah, Neal could cover. I love Neal.
Same.
Actually, there's some Neal here. Tiny.
Tiny bit. Keanu was like 215 though.
Yeah, he's bigger though. He moved the linebacker in the NFL. So that isn't there. But maybe some similar play style there. But no, I get it. Infectious is the best word because it's just so much fun to watch him. He's knocking chin straps off, knocking logos off helmets and stuff. All right, I'm going to get on. I'm going to go another 2 for here because I couldn't help myself and don't know how to follow my own assignments and I overdo it. So I'm going to go with 2 Oregon Ducks here. 2 guys, one made my preseason big board, then both made my midseason big board, and both are firmly in my top 20 now on my final top 75. Defensive tackle, Derrick Harmon, and offensive tackle, Josh Conerly Jr. Shouldn't be a surprise on either of these guys if you have listened to any of these shows the past month, but been a big fan of both. Both players, Conerly especially, rapidly improved this year as the season went along. Really impressed. Listen to the offensive line show. You can hear my dad gush about him for a good 10 minutes. It was his offensive lineman 1. I was high on him even before that. Even talking with my dad, he ended up being a top 20 guy for me, Conerly Jr., that is, because I think he is a true left tackle. True left tackles are impossible to find. And he has the footwork, the length, the athleticism, and actually that rapidly improving kind of hand placement technique and awareness that makes me encouraged because he's so young. He's coming out as a true junior. But really, really just like him and I think he'll go higher than people realize because I think the league likes him as well. But yeah, just like I originally was like, man, do you have to bump up and be like a zone guard? But it's like now after watching the second half of the year, watch the Penn State game. He's really locking down Abdul Carter. I mean, really, Carter gets him on 1 snap. I tweeted it. It was an inside move. He gets him. Other than that, though, Conerly's winning that battle. Like, he is a pass-protecting left tackle, like, all the way. Run game stuff, has to improve on some play strength stuff. That would be his one area of improvement that you have to see, really see the, lower body play strength improve. But I already saw that improve as the season went along. So I'm very bullish on him. And then Harmon. I think you're a fan as well. I really like Harmon because I think he plays the run well, plays the pass well, can be a 2-gapper, can be a gap shooter. If you're in a 4-down scheme, can play every down in different roles. We mocked him to the Cardinals on our last mock, and I just kind of really like that fit because he can just do a little bit of everything. Might never be that 10-sack guy, 12-sack guy, which obviously not. He'd probably pick one if he were, but just that 4, 5, 6-sack guy, gets some TFLs, eats blocks, but also can be, can also shoot gaps and create some explosive plays too. Just had to throw him in there, Derrick Harmon. He's got a lot of steam right now, but I want to be part of that steam. And I want to plant my flag that I think he's just a very, very good player. So 2 Ducks. Hello, Justice Mosqueda.
To say, don't give him that. Don't give him that.
I know. But I just like these guys, man. I just think they're going to be really good pros. And I think they're getting better too, which makes it exciting. So, Harmon, Conerly Jr., let's get to your last guy that you want to plant your flag on here, though, Charles.
Yeah, another one that we've talked about a bunch. It's shocking that the guys that want to play flags on the guys I've talked about the most
keep
this offseason.
Hyping up and keep drumming, drumming about it. Yeah.
7 days, what, 6 hours? Yes.
Yeah.
2 p.m. East Coast.
Almost
7
there.
days.
Almost there.
But I'm going to go with Shavon Revel, the cornerback from East Carolina. Just for all the, like I said before with these other guys, the same stuff we've been talking about before. We compared him to different Cromarties last time we talked about him, which I feel like if you're a little bit of an older NFL fan at this point, that's going to jog your memory with just with how they play. Because, both guys, 6'2", 190, 200 pounds, got the length, got the speed, got the man coverage skills, can fly, right. And I think that he fits right into that mold in the same capacity. So, obviously we saw injury plague season last year. It was cut short for him with torn ACL. But I still think that even with like that injury concern, the upside here is just through the roof. As far as him like potentially having like the upside to be like a real like cornerback one in the NFL. Right. So I'm
like a Cromartie.
I'm really like a Cromartie. Right. Yeah. So I'm fascinated to see where he ends up. I think he's a first round talent. But obviously with the injury plus a small school, maybe he drops a little bit. But either way, I think that this guy's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL as long as that knee checks out, because he's got like all of the traits you want in a first round cornerback. And I think just a little bit of coaching can really get him to where he needs to be for an NFL role.
When we were on the DB pod, I brought up preview pod. I brought up that he looked like on one play, he looked like a hawk or like a pterodactyl running down like a Tweety bird on a crossing route, like where he's just so big and so long, and he overruns the crosser because he's so fast. Because he is faster than literally the ball can get to the guy. Like he overruns it, and not saying like, oh, wasn't aware. It's just that's how fast he is, that he was able to give this receiver a head start with 5 yards of cushion, and he beat him to the spot. No, I think if he were healthy this year, God, that seems like the theme of all these guys we're talking about. If he were healthy this year and played in the Senior Bowl, because he is the small school guy from East Carolina, I think his stock would have shot through the roof. NFL coaches looking at him for a week, or NFL scouts, and then seeing him just be bigger than most of the receivers and run faster. Yeah, like easy top 25, because just the skill set is just so hard to find. I really like him. We've been kind of consistent with the messaging on him. So yeah, good flag plan, because this is legit outside corner ability with real upside too. And also the Cromartie comparisons was funny too, because narratively it fit too. Dominique Rodgers was small school, and then Marcus was coming off Marcus is the guy I play with. Antonio was coming off an ACL injury. So they kind of actually worked kind of perfectly for that too. My last one before we finish our little section is another corner, Trey Amos from Ole Miss. Just had to give this guy a shout. Just think this guy is a starting quality corner. He made my top 40, just barely. Fun tape. It reminds me of James Bradbury. A little bit when he was coming out of Samford. Bradbury's a little bigger, but man, just that good zone corner, good ball skills, never out of position, tested better than I thought he would, but really moves well. Just an easy mover, or I should say easy mover, just a balanced mover, never out of whack. And I just really like that with the ball skills to actually, he had 13 PBUs last year, but also just like make a play on the ball and time the ball underneath, dropping in the zone when he's playing high lows and stuff. This is a starting corner. I'm not saying maybe a true ace number one, but man, this is a good skill set here. This is a guy that can be a very strong number two, or maybe a low end one that you pair with another guy, and someone getting him maybe early second. I think he might squeak up into the first, maybe even. But yeah, Trey Amos is a guy I want to plant my flag on, because I just think he's going to be a good pro. Just checks a lot of boxes at the corner position, even if maybe not anything overwhelming.
Yeah, that's it's funny because when I watched Trey Amos, I just realized I had him on like the top 50 list. I think I deleted him by accident. Whatever, I don't care anymore. But when I watched him, he kind of reminded me of, and this is Falcon Spring, like AJ Terrell, where you're like, there's not any one singular like athletic trait that you love here, but just the movement skills. I remember when I watched AJ at Clemson, like it was just like the ability to stay in front of someone, and you go to the combine, you're like, oh, I thought maybe he would test a little bit better, but he moves well on the football field. I don't even think AJ had great agility times, but I feel the same when you watch Amos. Just a sound, good football player that's going to stay in position. Maybe not the most explosive guy, but just a really good quality football player.
Yeah, if you're a zone-heavy scheme, like you'll be all over this guy, and he's athletic enough and long enough to play in man too. Like he has good technique. It's just that the true athletes might give him some issues, like they give most corners. If he had no issues with that, he'd be a top 15 guy. But just that little range, that late first, early second, he really grew on me the more I watch him. It's just not the sexiest game, but it's just like, man, you just are never out of whack, and you just check a lot of boxes. So yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about Amos a little bit before we wrap this up. All right, we're going to take our last break, and then we're going to hear from you on some of the flags that you wanted to plant for the 2025 NFL Draft. All right, we are back. We asked you on Twitter and on Blue Sky to plant some flags, and you guys did. So we just, us producers looked at some of those replies, and we're going to throw them in here, and we're going to address them. I liked it. We're going to start with this one from MDDEE. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun segment. This is from Blue Sky. The prediction here, I don't know, it's he or she, Vikings do not draft a safety or corner in round one. Amanawari, and then also kind of like a second one here, Amanawari and Booker, so Tyler Booker, offensive guard, fall out of the first round. And then Icy Melting had kind of a related one with the Vikings, also on Blue Sky. Shavon, Revel Jr., who we just talked about, he wants them drafted to the Vikings, or he's playing a flag that he will be drafted to the Vikings. So kind of a Vikings category here. I could see the Amanawari falling out of the first round. I could see Booker falling out of the first round. I could see both of those. Amanawari with the athleticism, but maybe not the tape to watch. And then Booker is not a scheme fit for everybody, and also just kind of falls below some athleticism thresholds. Actually, the Revel, God dang it, to the Vikings is kind of interesting. Actually, I don't mind that one. They're fine. They're comfortable with injury history and everything. Yeah. You've kind of thought that the Vikings maybe could go corner, right? Or maybe you're trench leaning.
Yeah.
Well, the free agency kind of changed that a little bit.
We talked about before where the Vikings, they've got all this juice on offense. Like the offensive line should be better than it was last year. Simon Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, those guys are getting healthy. The skill talent's going to be good. But on defense, we talked about during the season where they almost got like, it became too meticulous where you don't have that many guys, especially like in the front seven, that are like consistently winning one-on-one matchups on their own. So I really think that any boost of talent for the Vikings defense will be helpful. And it's not to say, obviously, they have a good defense and they have one of the elite defensive coordinators in the league, but if you just had a couple more difference makers, a couple more, blue chip talents out there, it would make life a lot easier for you. And I think you would maybe even see a better version of Brian Flores if you had some guys where it doesn't have to be. So, I'm orchestrating every single person to the right spot every day.
They had a scheme advantage, but then if the scheme got blocked up, nobody was winning those one-on-ones like you're saying. So that's what, they need needle movers that can take advantage of some of that. Maybe Dallas Turner bumps up a little bit, but they need those types of guys. Going to the next one here. This was also from Blue Sky. This is Harry Business. Nice and easy. Thank you. This is actually got a couple Jack Sawyer related ones here. Jack Sawyer is going to be good and should be drafted earlier than he will be. Also got one from Sean Donahue on Twitter. JTT, his teammate, JT Tumalo, and Jack Sawyer will end up with more production, sacks, TFLs, etc., on their rookie deals than Shamar Stewart and James Pierce. What do you think about that one there, Charles?
Whew. I mean,
I love it.
How high? That's a good little. It's a good one. I think I like both those Ohio State guys.
I do too.
More production on their rookie deals than Shamar Stewart or James Pierce. I mean, I don't think that's that crazy, especially for Stewart, where you're still trying to figure a lot of stuff out. But I do like both those guys. I think they're both kind of like high floor guys that can start right away for you. Maybe I think I like JT just a little bit more because he's a little more explosive, a little bit more stout. But both those guys are really solid. I wouldn't have a problem with taking either of them in like round 2 and just trying to see what happens there.
Anytime after pick 40, I'm comfortable with the Ohio State edge pair. And it's just, and ask me on the day, it's which one I prefer more. I think Sawyer, I've always liked Sawyer's game for going on 2 years now because scouted him for that long. And then Tumalo is just like a guy that pushes the pocket, strong. He's going to just be useful. Like I can just see him being a nice, solid number 2 edge rusher. And Sawyer can kind of be a nice little jack of all trades type for a lot of people. So Stewart's a project. Pierce is going to be a unique type of guy. Might get some sacks. I don't know about those TFLs. So I actually like that one from Sean. I thought that was an interesting one. We'll go to this one right here. This is from B Body 7 on Blue Sky. At pick 10, this is not so much some of you guys, when instead of flag planning, you maybe did flag predictions. You plan some flags and some predictions. I like this one. At pick 10, the Bears select either Ashton Genty, running back, Tyler Warren, tight end, or Marion Hampton, running back at pick 10. And then it's set in order of priority. But what do you think of that one? Do you think they can go in a different position? Are there any other names that they might consider at 10?
I think left tackle is still on the table if you just want to clear out the whole thing. But of these 3, I mean, I'll probably just take Genty because I think he's the best player here. And I don't know if RB is where they need to go at 10, but he's an upgrade over DeAndre Swift. So Ben
Johnson and DeAndre Swift.
Right. It's not the sexiest pairing. I really wouldn't hate Genty there. Ideally, like you probably want to trade down. But if you're just stocking the offense with talent, Ben just came from an organization that took a running back in the top 12. And that pick's been pretty good for them within the whole ecosystem. So he obviously knows the value that one of those guys can add. So I wouldn't really be surprised if they took one early. I just don't know if they take one at 10.
Right. I actually they have 2 second rounders. I'm sorry. I like a back there with one of those 2 picks. Like that's kind of where I see the sweet spot for them. And then they have like an early 3rd. I think it's like pick 72 or somewhere around there. Like there. We just talked about a couple. Devin, Neal, Damien Martinez. There you go. There's your back. There's your innings eater that you can put in there. So yeah, I've getting the Genty thing's gotten hype. It would be fun, and I get why Johnson might like that and everything. It's just rich because this class and everything. But I'm as a neutral fan, I'm not going to be like, no. Warren too. I see Loveland just as valid of a player there too. And I could see them going tight end to complement what they already have. Do not see them going receiver. And then, Hampton's the same argument with the running back. I could see maybe defensive tackle being the other one. And we've mentioned 2 of the guys that I could picture there, Kenneth Grant and Derrick Harmon. Could see either of those guys ending up as defensive tackles there too, just based on what they have. I know they got Grady Jarrett, but Grady Jarrett's past 30, and that deal too is fungible. And then on top of it, they have other interesting defensive tackles, but I think that's another position they could splash at and splurge at as well. I'm going to go to the next one from NT Dynasty FF, stands for Final Fantasy. I'm assuming. I'm kidding. Travis Hunter ends up playing more snaps at receiver than cornerback in his rookie year. He was playing for a team that will likely lose 70% of their games. You can't leave your best weapon on the bench while you're being outscored. What do you think about that one? Especially now that it really looks like he's going to be a Cleveland Brown.
I mean, look, it's that part. The Browns drafted him number 2 overall. Oh my God. And it's not just, I think he's a better cornerback. The youth wide receiver. If I was taking him at 2, I would just slap him across from Denzel Ward and rain, the fire of God on you with Myles Garrett and blitz you and just try to stay in the game like 13-10 because that's where they're probably going to be offensively. But like the more you talk about the Browns taking Travis Hunter and playing him at wide receiver, it's insane, right? Like you look at their roster, man. Like what is Travis Hunter doing to save Andrew Berry's job or anyone else's job that's involved in that organization, it's just kind of a weird thought process to me, because this is like supposed to be a long-term view. And to me, that's a pretty rich luxury pick when you don't have quarterback settled. You don't have, you probably need some offensive line reinforcement. You need some help in your front seven on defense, because that has sneakily gotten a little bit thin this year, especially with Jeremiah Joamora. Oh, Jesus Christ, I butchered that.
JOK.
Being JOK, yeah, being injured. And, the last we heard from Andrew Berry a couple weeks ago is that, not out of the woods yet with the neck injury he's suffered last fall. Defensive tackle right now, you're a little thin there too. I don't really see how Travis Hunter, and I say this, like, we both have him as the best player in the draft. I just don't see how he makes sense for where the Browns are right now, because you add a wide receiver to that team, they're still losing all those games, man. It's not really making a big difference.
It's just,
and he's too cool. He's too cool for that to be his fate.
Too cool to be a Brown.
Cool.
In that situation right now, it's just like, it's just so rich to me. Like you said, it's like, God, I struggle with it, because I'm like, they need talent. Don't get me wrong. And Travis Hunter is my definitive, easy number one player in this class, because he's such a special talent. But the fact that they're going like, we see him as a receiver, like just already saying it is just like, really? That's the line of thinking you guys are going on? You think that's going to put you, like, that's what you're going to build with? I mean, and also, aren't you guys using a lot of capital on receivers? Maybe you should learn a lesson here. Like, these guys aren't getting you over the top no matter how much you invest in them. First, Cooper, that wasn't too crazy, but then, Judy and just everybody that they got out there. So Elijah Moore before that. And also, I just have some things like Travis Hunter has a ways to go, I think, as a route runner. I think he'll pick it up quickly. He's a football junkie. He's a freak athlete. Some of the size stuff, too. I'm not ever going to be a big fan of taking what I considered a not ideal size receiver top 10. I think that's actually more risky than people realize. I know I'm a size queen and I always talk about this, but I tweeted it, or I posted this on Blue Sky. There's only been, 6 receivers since 1990 that have averaged, here we go, sub 90, 190 pound receivers drafted in the first round since 1970, since the merger, to average 60 or more receiving yards per game in their career. There's been 51 of these guys drafted. Marvin Harrison Sr., Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Brandon Cooks, Eddie Brown. Yes, those guys are all, you can say, yes, they hits. Yes, they are more modern players. Smith, Wilson, Olave, Waddle, all those guys have been last few years. Yada, yada, yada. Guys are getting smaller and faster and all that. Well, are we looking at a group of all pros there? Are we looking at it's some nice number twos? I really like Olave, and I think he can be a one, but he's battled injuries throughout his history. Garrett Wilson has been productive, but, not that true all-pro talent yet, one rookie of the year. Devontae Smith has been one of the best number twos in the league. Love Devontae Smith. Brandon Cooks has been a guy that's been shipped off 14 different times. And I really like Brandon Cooks. But I'm just saying that there is some, caveat emptor here, buyer beware. But I do think Hunter has the talent. I just would prefer them saying, we think he's a corner, and then we're going to figure out on receiver, because we think we're a little bit further away on receiver. So don't want to burn too many of his steps on a wasted avenue. I don't know. That's just kind of how I look at it. But they look differently. They got success to point at too, I guess. There's some game theory here. I'm going to go with, or get a couple more here before we wrap up. Here's one for you, because this is one of your guys. Derrick Mountain on Twitter said, Darian Porter, corner from Iowa State, will be the best corner in this draft class besides Travis Hunter. I love that too. You always have to say that besides Travis Hunter about everything. Best receiver besides Travis Hunter. So but what do you think about that one, Charles? Because I know Porter was a guy, it caught your eyeballs a little bit in the process.
Definitely. Because I somehow missed his combine. I missed the freak show he did in Indianapolis. But I was watching him. I was watching him, and I was just like, very briefly, it was like maybe literally 2 or 3 plays in to his tape. I was like, is this the most athletic player in the draft? Like, what the hell am I watching? And then I looked it up, and 6'3", 195, 4'3" flat, 40, jumped out the gym, had elite agility times, ran a 6'7" 3-cone at 6'3", 195. Like, this is just like legitimate S-tier athlete. And honestly, he makes a lot of plays just by being that athletic. It's not always the most, maybe the most coordinated stuff you've seen, but when you're that big and that fast, like, you can just hawk stuff down. And he makes some really impressive plays like that. I don't know if he's like the best cornerback, but I wouldn't be all that surprised if he got turned into something, because I do think he has some pretty nice man coverage skills, and obviously he's got the length and the speed and all the athleticism. I think it's just going to take a little bit of focus from him, but he's not. He's. I don't think he's that far away from being a starting caliber corner in the NFL.
It's interesting tools to work with. Like, I mean, that's what, especially on day 2, when you see teams take some dart throws and you're like, okay, I get the idea of that, but like, you gotta be realistic about what this guy is. No, this is, I'm with this a little bit, where Porter has upside. I like others better, but he was a converted receiver, which is an interesting profile as well. And hence the size and everything, but easy mover, already shows some feel for it, even though he's not like as new to the position. So like, your little profile, little snapshot there is like exactly it. It's like, it's just more glimpses and the tools that you're looking at, but it's not like he's oh God, this guy has no idea how to play football. It's just that he doesn't have a feel for the position. There's a difference there. Some guys you can tell don't watch the game at all. Shamar Stewart. But when I watch Porter, I can just tell. But I watch Porter, I'm like, okay, all right, you're figuring it out. I understand why some technique stuff isn't perfect, but man, this is a player profile that's like, take a shot on this, especially when you're looking at that tier, and the upside is so great. This guy could be a true outside guy for you. That's
33-inch arms. 33-inch arms.
Fluid mover too. Not some big stiff, long corner that just can't turn. He can turn. So, you give him a shout. He just missed my top 75. He would be in my top 100. Obviously, he's in that tier, but like, I get the profile and why people are high on him. Let's get to maybe one more here, two, one and a half. This is from Gonzalez _A90127. Whew. Putting some information out there, man. A Gonzalez from 90127. All right, we can narrow you down. And then I just wanted to get with this one. He said Jalen Milroe will be seen as the best quarterback out of this NFL draft in 3 years. That's tilting the shoulder back there. That's swinging for the fences there. Milroe, I warmed up to. I also just think Cam Ward will be that guy in this class. That's where I'm putting all my chips behind. But there's that 1% chance with Milroe. And I understand that he is a freak athlete. He has an incredible arm. It's just, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get him to be an NFL quarterback. It's why I've kind of compared him to Cordell Stewart, as like a Zoomer Cordell Stewart, that use him as a package play guy early in his career, and hopefully you develop into something as a quarterback. But it's an interesting tool set. He got invited to Green Bay for a reason too. I'll say that. So obviously some teams like him. I'm seeing some drums are beating about Jalen Milroe right now. But what'd you think of him? What was kind of your one-liner on Milroe?
Oh, I thought my first thought was like, man, this guy must not like this quarterback class at all. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I like Cam Ward for sure. That's wild. That's a wild take. Yeah, right. Because to Milroe, I was literally arguing with someone yesterday on the phone, like, being nice. Like, I can see taking Milroe on day 2. I actually can. Round 3 to be specific.
I'd probably take him,
because someone's going to look at that and say, "Holy crap! Like, we could have a real weapon at some points in the field, while maybe we try and figure out some more, a way for him to become a more proficient passer in the NFL." Because I really do understand where the Jalen Milroe fans are coming from, because there are very few quarterbacks that are that fast, very few in the history of the league who can run, like when he's on a designed run, can really exploit a defense and hit the second level and hit the jets and make guys miss. He's got some serious arm strength. I mean, you watch some of those deep throws that he can uncork when it's all working and it's on a dime. Like, I can see, like, if you were just to watch some of his best plays, oh yeah, this is one of the best players in the draft. But there's so much in between all that where you're just like, oh man, you're missing like the easy ones, and then you hit the hard ones, and you're scrambling aimlessly, but then you hit you on a quarterback keeper up the middle, you run 50 yards for a touchdown. It's kind of all over the place. But someone's gonna look at the athleticism and say, if I can just point you in the right direction, you might be able to score some touchdowns for us, and that can get you drafted top 100 at least. But best quarterback in the class, no.
Yeah, what's helping Milrow too is they interviewed really well. I said this on the quarterback show with Dane. I had 3 different people at the combine stop me mid-sentence or stop mid-sentence, probably me mid-sentence because I don't shut up, and just said, hey, you know who really was impressive? And I was expecting like all these names. They're like, Jalen Milrow. Man, what a great kid. He's so smart. And I was like, man, everyone just keeps bringing this up. And then I see his stock kind of just keep going and going and going. I'm like, all right. So I see what's happening here. It's just a disconnect for me. There's guys, I would consider myself like this a little bit too when I was a quarterback. I'm great on the whiteboard. And once stuff started flying though, hold on to your hat whether I was able to progress and see through the muck and figure it all out. And that's the thing with Milrow, was that he was improved in the first half of the year. And I was like, okay, you're actually progressing a lot better. You're working through things. Second half of the year, he reverted to his worst habits. He's very one and done with his reads. If stuff unfolds coverage wise, he's not expecting. You don't know where the ball is going to go. You don't know what his answer is going to be. You don't know what he decides. Is he going to take a sack? Is he going to create? Is he going to throw into coverage? So he has a lot of work to go, or a lot of work to do to even be viable. And on top of it, just some awareness stuff that cropped up with him. Like I couldn't find a way to track this anywhere. I scoured the internet, but I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback throw past the line of scrimmage where he was past the line of scrimmage more than Jalen Milrow did in college, because I can recall at least 4 times. Bortles had a bunch of us
with the Jaguars. He did.
With the Jags, he had a couple. Yeah. He did it with the Jags. I remember one vividly. Yeah, Milrow, man, he had at least 4, and I would venture he had 6 if I would. But that was, and again, that's just like a little note I have. But it's like, most quarterbacks, you never see it do it ever. So when you see a quarterback do it not only once, but like a half dozen times in just a year and a half viewing them, it's like, okay, what's going on here? So that just kind of speaks to like how far he has to go. He won the academic Heisman on top of everything too. So I'm not questioning his work ethic. I'm not questioning whether he can learn these things, but what his film shows right now is that he has a long ways to go. So someone's going to fall in love with him because just that skill set, man. It's such a good athlete. And especially when you look at the rest of the class, it's like, might as well take a chance on this guy as opposed to X, Y, or Z. I wanted to throw in this last one here. It was Planet Mike said Rams will draft Kyle McCord as QB3 in round 3 or 4. And I wanted to give you that little shout there because that's your guy, Kyle McCord.
I do like Kyle McCord. I don't really see a point for them. Yeah, right. I mean, in the Rams though, why? Like you got a Jimmy G at home, Like you
too, though. That's what you call him, the boot and shoot. That was
the point, boot, and shoot. Like
point, boot, and shoot.
Not asking him to do too much more than that. But I don't like. I view Kyle McCord as like, we have a starter. Let's take a backup, or maybe we have like we have we need some competition maybe, and we need someone to push. But like making him like the future, I don't really see that.
You prefer Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, capable quarterback. It's going to play for a good while.
Yep.
Everyone likes him. To say like we're going to hand the keys to him after Stafford retires, I think he aimed a little higher than that.
I just had to throw that one in there because I know we talked about McCord. He's the choice route king. That was it. Yeah. That's all that film was. No, Charles, a lot of fun as always. Thank you everyone also for sending those in. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them. You guys sent us dozens and dozens and dozens, but those were great. We're closing it out today. We'll be back on Monday to kick off draft week. We're doing a mock draft on Monday. 3 of us, me, Charles, and Matt. Just a little sampling what you're going to get into with that live show next week from LA, which will be a lot of fun. Not from Green Bay, from LA. That's how we can get us there. Get you guys all the way across the country. Just a hop, skip, and jump for me. But going to be a lot of fun with that live show. So make sure you download the Yahoo app as well and download, or just be ready, I should say, for us in the live show, pick by pick analysis, all that good stuff next week. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice and Nate Tice on Blue Sky. Charles, where can they find you? What were you working on now that we're done with the big boards? What were you working on Yahoo this week?
You can find me at 4 Birds Blue Sky. I wrote something about the Michigan players, the three, defensive players that are headlining the draft. And that's also where I was like, damn, Kenneth Grant, hell a bit of a bigger burden than I remembered him doing when I went back and rewatched. But yeah, got that up. We got podcasts up. Check out the All Juice team, Neal Charles Robinson. That's been posted this week. Yeah, we're just trying to keep sane for the next 7 days and 5 hours and 26 minutes.
That's it. That's the goal. We can do it. We're almost there. 7 days out from round one. It's going to be a blast. But until then, send those mailbag questions. Send them in to football301mailbag at yahoosports.com, or leave us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll really appreciate it. You leave a question there, we will answer it. Trust me, we'll have time to do it pretty soon. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us that 5 stars. And if you don't rate us 5 stars, just yell at me on Twitter. If you want to give us lower, I'd much rather take that or Blue Sky, one of the two. I'll look at it and ignore it. Or watch us on YouTube and or the Yahoo Sports channel. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes. Thank you to everyone for listening. See you guys next time.